All right, let's do a quick review of what we did in the previous session, day 4 yesterday. Okay, so in the previous session, we basically focused on configuring and running authenticated scan, which is also known as trusted scan in Qualys terminology. And for a successful authenticated scan that you run through a virtual scanner appliance, uh, which is remote to your assets which are part of your internal network, you will need to ensure that virtual scanner appliance has credentials which it will use to authenticate to all the assets, as well as the credentials will have appropriate access or appropriate permissions to every minute area of that asset so that it can run deep dive scan, which basically relates to registries, installed softwares and applications, as well as operating system critical files. So for that, we need to make sure that we follow these 5 steps. These steps are also mentioned into the PDF, which I shared with you, which is an official documentation white paper from Qualys, which talks about authenticated scans. So most of you were able to configure, these basically were able to do these configuration. And after that, when you ran the scan ran perfectly fine. It was able to identify vulnerabilities. Now, some of you forgot to install. I'm just uh, referring to the, you know, uh, to what I witnessed in the last session, wherein I asked you to, present your screen or talk about your experience or what you see on your screen. So I could see that some of the participants, they actually were able to run the authenticated scan, but in the absence of any software and application, the vulnerabilities could not be identified or could not be discovered. And later on, they were suggested to deploy certain uh, softwares and applications, probably the older version, to give an opportunity to Qualys to identify vulnerabilities as part of that older version. So that's what we did. And so that's where we spent majority of the time last week, which was the which is one of the main activity that you do in VMDR, which talks about configuration. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to move on to the next step, which is now that we have understood all which relates to virtual scanner appliance, we'll move on to the next part, which is cloud agent. Before we move on to the cloud agent, I've got a couple of slides that I want to cover before we move on to the cloud agent, and we start with policy compliance and file integrity monitoring, the remaining 2 modules. Let's talk about some theoretical aspects which is there in the presentation, which I basically put together for this training. Now, before I start with the presentation, if you have any questions, please let me know. Any observations from your end while you worked, after the session, or while you try to configure the solution, or after the solution was configured, when you ran the scan, when the results were available, when you looked at the results, if there is anything that you may want to ask, you can ask me now. All right. I think nobody has any questions. Let's get started. So this is the presentation which I put together for Qualys. We have already covered some of the concept, some of the slides here. So I'll just quickly skip those slides. Now, this is where I want to talk about from the architectural perspective, because I got this information from Qualys yesterday only. These, I'm saying these images, or you would say these screenshots from, from Qualys. I had a discussion with them on some other business opportunity. And as part of that, I got connected with their technical team, and they basically shared this information. So I took a screenshot here. Now, this basically talks about various solutions from the licensing perspective. So if you see here, this is the solution stack of Qualys, which is updated for the year 2025. Now, here you see that at the bottom, it all starts at the bottom. Let's understand it from the bottom so that you understand the stack. And if you're there to provide any consulting or any guidance from licensing or from solutioning perspective to your customers, this image will really help you there. So when it comes to various modules or various solution stack, Qualys has certain modules which are always free of cost. Now, when I say they are free of cost, it basically means that either the entire module is free of cost, or some of the capabilities in the module are, are available at no cost to the customer. The reason I'm saying it because asset inventory is one module of Qualys which is available free of cost. You don't pay anything for maintaining an asset inventory. However, you will definitely need to create an account, create a trial account with Qualys. Trial is where you will begin your relationship with Qualys. So you will request for a trial account. And after your granted trial account that is valid for 30 days, which will have access to additional modules, the global asset management module, even after your trial is over, will continue to work. You will still be able to log into your customer portal, your Qualys dashboard, and you will still be able to see all your assets and the configurations that has been discovered against those assets. So global asset view is available. Similarly, certificate inventory, if your assets contain certificates, SSL certificates, that inventory will also be available. Mobile inventory, if you have mobile assets, which are basically Android devices, iOS devices that you have added, they will also be available, and cloud and container inventory. So anything related to the inventory is free of cost available even after your trial, trial concludes or trial ends with Qualys and you decide not to continue as a paid customer with Qualys. Then comes threat and vulnerability management. Now, in threat and vulnerability management, so you must have noticed on the portal that PCI compliance is part of compliance module. However, from the licensing perspective, if you want to understand this, it is actually there in the VMDR. Now, this is something that I was not even aware of because most of the customers that I basically support on this product, they basically have a separate license for policy compliance, or probably they started with policy compliance, they purchased a license, then they upgraded it to VMDR, and they ended up paying additional money to Qualys. So probably that was the reason. But now, if you go with VMDR, policy compliance is part of it. Okay, just give it a minute. So I don't know what happens to Qualys at this time, at this point in time. Kindly log into
Me
your
also,
respective Qualys portal and see if you're
me
able to
also
log in.
it said, Raghuveer, it's happening for me also. I opened some of the browser.
Okay, no worries. I know this will get resolved. They probably will be doing the same activity in the backend. I don't know why they are doing it at this point in time. And I don't have visibility in terms of if there is something which is going bad internally that they are trying to fix, but that's okay. So I'll show that part later on. Let's focus on the presentation by the time this issue will get resolved. So when you purchase VMDR license, threat and vulnerability management or VMDR license, you basically get vulnerability management, threat protection, continuous monitoring, patch detection or patch management, standard API, certificate assessment, security configuration assessment modules. All of these modules are part of threat and vulnerability management, which basically means that if your objective is to do PCI DSS or CIS compliance based assessment. Once again, remember, if it is about PCI DSS and CIS based controls or CIS based compliance assessment, you don't need to purchase policy compliance module separately. It is already part of VMDR, vulnerability management detection and response, right? So it's already part of that module. Give me a moment. All right. So as I said, if it is about PCI DSS compliance and if you want to assess the configuration of your assets against PCI DSS or against CIS benchmarks, CIS has multiple benchmarks for operating systems, for cloud environment, for databases, for applications, for web browsers, in fact, for IaaS services or web services. If that is your objective, VMDR license is more than sufficient. So that's part of VMDR. And then you have separate licenses. For example, if you are looking for IT and infrastructure security, which includes EDR, which is Cortex SDR, Symantec EDR, CrowdStrike EDR, CrowdStrike Falcon, Microsoft Defender for endpoint, Sentinel-1. If you're looking for endpoint detection and response, then you can go for IT infrastructure and security module, which will include this asset management, but they call it cybersecurity asset management, CSAM, with EDR, along with patch management and custom assessment and remediation. So IT infrastructure and security would basically include VMDR plus EDR capabilities. Then similarly, if you're looking for compliance as a separate module, wherein other than PCI, DSS, and CIS benchmark, if your objective is to do NIST and NIST-based compliance reviews, high trust-based compliance reviews. If you want to create a custom configuration scanning policies wherein you have some controls in mind, you want to put it together and you want to scan against those controls, or you want to scan against RBI mandates, HIPAA, GDPR. So anything which is over and above CIS and PCI DSS is part of policy compliance module. So you can go for compliance licensing, wherein you will get policy compliance, file integrity monitoring, SES detection and response, and security assessment questionnaire. This is part of compliance module, which is a separate license. Similarly, if you are a customer which is either cloud-born or have hybrid arrangement wherein you have some footprints or majority of footprints into public cloud, then you can go for total cloud solution. Total cloud solution basically comprises of these four modules, which includes total cloud as a solution itself, which includes cloud native application protection platform, cloud detection and response, which is basically similar to CSPM, which is Palo Alto Prisma, which basically provides a configuration assessment of your cloud services and aligns a secure score against those assessment. That's what cloud detection and response. So do not get confused between cloud detection and response and endpoint detection and response. They are two separate things. Endpoint detection and response is primarily for endpoints, which is an advanced anti-malware, anti-ransomware, anti-virus, anti spyware solution, which basically provides you capabilities like attack surface reduction, external endpoint detection and response, automated investigation and remediation. This cloud detection and response is more into cloud. So if you have subscribed to Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, these are the four clouds that this solution supports as we speak. The support for other cloud service providers is there in the roadmap. So if you are a customer of one of those four cloud service providers, you can basically go for total cloud module, which would include CDR, cloud security assessment, and container security also. So if you have containerized workloads and applications, you can go for total cloud module, which is a separate module from VMDR or from IT infrastructure and security and compliance. And then you have a separate module, which is web application scanning. So if you're looking to scan your publicly exposed assets, which are your portals, public websites, public applications, if you want to scan them for vulnerabilities, for probable security misconfigurations, or you want to identify if that application is vulnerable to OWASP's top 10 application security vulnerabilities or SENS top 20 application security vulnerabilities, you can go with web application security module. And this web application scanning or web application security module, which will basically scan your website or web application or public portals, and it will basically give you visibility in terms of any misconfiguration, in terms of any vulnerability, in terms of any information or any misconfiguration which is probably not severe as we speak today, but may get exploited and result in a vulnerability. So this is the solution stack of Qualys in the year 2025 as on January 14th, because I got this yesterday. So This is the up-to-date information from the solutioning perspective. Now, since we are basically subscribed to a trial, that is the reason we have access to majority of these modules. So this is the opportunity. This is the time when you can leverage this opportunity, go through these modules. They are self-explanatory. There is documentation available from from Qualys at the same time to help you configure a specific module and get the best out of it. So that's something that you need to be aware of. Any question from this, from any of the participant? Then comes this hybrid architecture. I already talked about this architecture. Now, this is the last time I'm talking about it because, as I said, this is an updated infographic that I've received from Qualys, which I've updated in my presentation. So far, what we have done, we have basically looked at external scanners. We have looked at virtual scanners. Now we will look at another component, which is cloud agent. So if you want to understand that what are my scenarios, in what scenarios I should be using an external scanner, in what scenario should I be using a virtual scanner appliance, in what scenarios and use case I should be using uh, a cloud agent, and in what scenarios I should be using some other capability. This image talks about everything. So look at this image. This image basically shows a customer with a hybrid environment. A hybrid environment basically means that customer has a couple of data centers, on-premises data centers. They could be owned by the customer, or they could be in the co-location arrangement wherein customer is renting out space, paying for hardware, and hosting their workloads and applications in those data centers. At the same time, customer is also hosting some workloads and applications in public and private cloud. So let's look at all the options. So the first thing that you need to understand here is that Qualys does not provide any executable that you can deploy in your own data center and you can manage the infrastructure from there. Qualys is now available as part of Qualys Cloud Platform, which is a browser-based SaaS model, software as a service model, wherein all heavy lifting happens into the cloud and that is managed and maintained by Qualys. So what is happening? It will provide you sensors. With the help of those sensors, you can discover, identify, prioritize, remediate vulnerabilities on your assets. So if you are using, let's say, if your environment comprises of containerized workloads, whether those workloads are hosted in a physical data center, whether they are in cloud. In both cases, Qualys has a separate agent, which is container agent. For protecting containerized workloads, it uses an agent which is known as Qualys Container Connector. Through that connector, you can connect Qualys to your worker nodes, and it will be able to discover all the on those worker nodes, all the pods which are running, and as well as all the containers inside those pods and the applications which are running inside those containers. Now, if you have an environment that comprises of various devices like switches, routers, NAS and devices, firewalls, hardware devices, for that you have scanners. So you can deploy a scanner appliance. Now this scanner appliance has the capability to scan databases, SAN, NAS, DAS storage. It has the capability to scan firewalls, switches, routers. It has the capability to scan physical as well as virtual security solutions. And it also has the capability to scan your desktops and laptops and servers. That is what we have basically done in the previous sessions. Since we don't have access to virtual firewalls or switches and routers, we basically understood the capability from the asset perspective. So that's one option that you can do. Now, what you need to understand here is that Qualys, you are not whitelisting any incoming traffic on these appliances, on these scanner appliances. Scanner appliance communicate every 3 minutes, every 180 seconds with Qualys Cloud Platform. And while it communicates, while it sends heartbeat, at the same time, if there has been any update in the last 3 minutes with respect to a scanning schedule, with respect to any signature updates, any vulnerability database update, all that it basically procures from Qualys. It basically gets that update, it downloads that update from the platform. So at any point in time, platform is not sending any inbound traffic to the appliance. This is known as reverse connect technology. So the benefit of reverse connect technology is that these appliances cannot be hacked into. These appliances cannot be compromised. Nowadays, cyber attacks have gone to a level wherein security solutions are getting compromised. We recently had SolarWinds Orion, attack that basically affected customers worldwide. We also had last year CrowdStrike Falcon vulnerability, wherein a patch basically resulted in close to 1 million systems, 8 million systems down across the world. That's CrowdStrike, outage. Then recently you had an outage on Microsoft. I'm saying that happened last weekend only, that Microsoft MFA servers, they got impacted. Microsoft did not confirm that it was a cybersecurity attack, but because of that outage, the MFA credentials got impacted, and a lot of customers could not authenticate to systems and applications, and they resulted in a downtime. So this all happens when there is a internal traffic. When you use reverse connect technology, the probability of such incidents significantly come down, because you are not sending any traffic, sorry, you're not receiving any traffic, and that may get exploited by man in the middle attack or any other cybersecurity attack. It's a reverse connect technology wherein the device is basically making an outbound connection, the appliance is making an outbound connection to receive any update from its management server, which is Qualys Cloud Platform. So that's your so scanner appliance is one option. Then we have another option, which is, even if you have virtualized workloads, which includes Hyper-V, VMware, Citrix, you can still use Scanner Appliance. With the help of Scanner Appliance, you can also scan and discover vulnerabilities for your virtualized workloads. And then comes, if you also have existing relationship with cloud service providers, if you are a cloud customer, in that case you can use Qualys Cloud Agent. Now this is the image for Cloud Agent that you see here. You can deploy Qualys Cloud Agent. So first of all, this is not Cloud Agent, this is basically the connector. So with the help of Qualys Cloud Connector and Qualys Cloud Agent, you can basically onboard your public and private cloud environment into Qualys, and then you can run continuous monitoring, or you can gain real-time visibility into that environment. So these are my four options. Qualys also have passive scanners. Now the difference between passive and passive sensors is that these passive sensors are primarily meant for isolated environments. They are also known as Qualys gateways. In the isolated environment where there is no direct connectivity to internet, you can deploy these scanners, passive sensors, and these passive sensors will use a gateway to receive any signature updates or any information from Qualys. So this is the entire hybrid architecture. This is the I'm saying this is one. So this is where Qualys as one cloud platform, as with a single agent or a single capability, is basically resolving all your security needs, all your vulnerability management needs from a single cloud platform. So this is about hybrid architecture. So any customer of any size, scale, and complexity across any industry vertical can primarily use Qualys Cloud Platform to scan for vulnerabilities, and not only for vulnerability management, but for some additional cybersecurity requirements, which includes policy compliance, file integrity monitoring, certificate management, endpoint detection and response, cloud detection and response, cloud native application security, cloud security posture management, patch management, and many more, as I shown you in the previous slide. So that's about hybrid architecture. Any question on this? All right. If there are no more questions, let's move on. Okay. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to move on to the next module, which is Qualys Cloud Agent. Now, what is the difference between Cloud Agent and Scanner Appliance? We'll probably come back to this slide, come back to this slide 30 minutes from now. Let's first deploy the Cloud Agent, and then we will understand how they are different from Virtual Scanner Appliance. So let's log into your Qualys portal, all of you, Qualys Cloud Platform. Are you able to log in? Can somebody check and confirm? If it is not working in the in the browser, you can probably go incognito or in private browsing mode and try it there. I have also come to know from Qualys team yesterday that if the portal doesn't work in your normal browser, probably because of some cookies, historical cookies, you can try it into the incognito in private browsing mode. It should work there. Yep. It's logging in. In the in private browsing mode, it's actually working for me. So let's use that mode, guys. So over here, we are moving on to the next module, which is Qualys Cloud Agent, which is a next sensor appliance. There are multiple sensor appliances. We have passive scanners, external scanners, internal scanners. Now we have Cloud Agent. So now what we are going to do, we are going to deploy Cloud Agent on our virtual machines. We also looked at cloud connectors. Then we looked at scanner appliances. Now we are looking at Cloud Agent. So we are going to deploy Cloud Agent on our assets, and then we will see what value proposition it brings on the table and how is it different than using virtual scanner appliance, whether Cloud Agent provides you more capabilities, whether it is just one of the another option to search for vulnerabilities. So let's see that for yourself. So let's see what is a Qualys Cloud Agent. Okay. So over here, you will see about Cloud Agent. I would say when it comes to the sensors, we have four types of sensors. We have internet scanners, which are known as external scanners. We have scanner appliances, which are your physical scanner appliances. We have virtual scanner appliances that you all have deployed, and then we have cloud agents also. Now the benefit of cloud agent is that cloud agent with cloud agent technology, there is no need to schedule scan windows or manage credentials for scanning. These are the value propositions of cloud agent. The first value proposition is that in case of virtual or physical scanner appliance, you will need to schedule a scan. You will be scheduling a scan, whether you schedule it once in a day, 10 times a day, whether you run a on-demand scan, but you will have to do it manually or you need to schedule it. But with the help of cloud agent technology, you don't need to schedule scan for Windows or for Linux also, or for any operating system platform that it supports. I'll talk about the support matrix when we move on to the next slide. So you don't need to run, you don't need to schedule or run any scan, or you don't need to manage credentials for scanning. Now, this is one of the pain that you will find always. Why? Because if you use a common credential for all the systems, probably a service account, then this is also a security risk because that service account has access, administrative access to all the systems in your network. If you use multiple credentials, then managing those credentials as per your password policy, wherein the credentials will change every 90 days, 120 days, would be once again a trouble, a pain that you will have to bear. So managing credentials for scanning is one pain that all security professionals always suffer from. And Cloud Agent basically alleviates that pain because you don't need any credential. You deploy the agent, which is nothing but a small piece of software directly on the virtual machine, directly on the physical server, directly on that, directly on the asset, and it will receive updates from Qualys Cloud Platform. And based on that updates, it will run scan automatically. And it runs scan automatically, which basically means it provides you continuous 2-second visibility. Now they say 2 second, don't just take it seriously. It is never 2 seconds. 2 seconds are quite less, which is 1, 2. And definitely if Qualys Cloud Agent identifies any vulnerability, it will take probably a minute to have that vulnerability visible into the portal because it also depends on the current bandwidth, the internet speed that you are receiving, the current bandwidth consumption that you have in your environment. So let's say the agent is running on a VM in your physical data center, and your physical data center has a bandwidth of let's say 1 Gbps, 1 gigabit per second. But at the same time, there are applications and workloads which are consuming that bandwidth. So Qualys Cloud Agent will probably may probably take more than 2 seconds to report that vulnerability, and that vulnerability is visible to you in the portal. So don't go with the statement that Qualys says 2 seconds visibility. What they are trying to say that it is near real time. So if you don't have bandwidth crunch, then definitely within a couple of seconds, anything that it discovers on the asset as a vulnerability or misconfiguration, it will be reported to Qualys Cloud Platform, and from there it will be visible to the security team. That's what it basically means. So it basically provides it avoids any schedule. It runs it is running all the time. It's running round the clock on the asset, unlike virtual scanner appliance, which would manually perform or on-demand perform a scan. Agent runs round the clock and it doesn't require credentials. Now, there is a module which is known as continuous monitoring. A continuous monitoring module is only powered by Qualys Cloud Agent because this service will let you proactively address potential threats whenever new vulnerabilities appear. Real-time alerts notify you immediately. The other benefit is whether you are using Cloud Agent, virtual scanner, physical scanner, or internet scanner, on one cloud platform, on one console, you will have visibility to everything, whether that is coming from any of these sensors. So see the results in one place, wherein you have dashboards, default as well as customizable dashboards that provides you the big picture that helps you drill down into details of the vulnerabilities and generate reports for teammates and auditors. That's what the benefit of Qualys Cloud Platform as well as Cloud Agent is. So what are we going to do? We are going to deploy Cloud Agent now. So let's understand the Cloud Agent deployment. Provisioning Qualys Cloud Agent on, in lab environment VMs. That's what we are going to do now. So let's deploy the Cloud Agent on the virtual machines. So how do we deploy the Cloud Agent? We basically navigate to Cloud Agent. So under sensor management, you see Qualys Cloud Agent. Let's click on Cloud Agent and I'll show you how do we deploy agent. So in the Cloud Agent, you need to move to configuration. No, navigate to agent management, not configuration. So you need to be on the agent management, and over here you can go ahead and create agents, right? So the first step is to deploy in order to deploy the agent, first step is to generate an activation key for it. So the first step is to generate an activation key. An activation key is nothing but a method to bind agents together, similar to asset group, similar to tagging. If you want to identify, if you want to list all the assets related to one business unit, related to one application environment, which is, let's say, production, or which is, let's say, if not production, let's say a non-production environment, with with agents, you generate an activation key. So we'll generate an activation key. That's the first step. So let's go ahead and generate an activation key. You all need to click on new key here. Now you see one activation key here because we have already tested this module end to end to make sure that in the trial environment all the configurations are available, and if there was any challenge with one of the configuration, I have that visibility already. So we navigate to activation key and we'll click on new key. After you click on new key, you will provide a title for this new key. You will say demo. I'll say demo cloud agent. So you will provide a title and then you will select the modules that you want to enable on this activation key that will be used by agents. So that's the concept here. So you will select the provision key for these applications. So we'll select the modules. Now, since this is a trial, you see limited applications here, but in a production environment, depending on what you have configured, you will see it here. So any application that you've taken the license will be available here, or any application, any module that is supported by agent, you will see it here. So you can see that by default, global asset view is available. So I can select vulnerability management because I want to use cloud agents for vulnerability management. I want to use them for file integrity monitoring. I can select it. I want to use them for secure configuration assessment. I want to use them for patch management. Similarly, if I had subscribed to other modules, they will be shown here. So I can select the modules that I want to enable the cloud agent for via this activation key, right? I can also set limit here. Limit basically means that right now, since this is a trial version, I only have access to 20 agents. Or since this is a trial version, I have 20 activation keys given to me. So you can see here it says 19 activation remaining 19, 19, 19. Because one I'm already using with the name production key. So I can also put limits here, which is tell us maximum number of agents that can be installed using this key. Because when you deploy the agent, this activation key will be used as an authentication, or you can consider this that this is the password for agent. So with this activation key, how many agents you can deploy? That is what you can put here. So maximum number of agents that can be deployed using this activation key. I'll say, let's just, in general, I put 10. Then it says key limited by date. I can also say allow installation of an unlimited number of agents up until this date. So either I can put a date that this activation key will remain valid till this date, and you can deploy as many agents using this activation key, or you can earmark the maximum number of agents that can be deployed using this activation key. So after you select all of this, we will click on generate. At the bottom, you see generate option. You will click on generate and it will generate the activation key. Now the activation key is generated. You can see that in the backend, it says demo cloud agent. The key is generated and this is your activation key. You can make a note of this activation key now, probably copy it, put it on a notepad, though this activation key will be visible to you in the future also, but you can just put it here. So I made a note of the activation key. Now with this activation key, I can deploy agent on these variety of assets. So what are my assets? I can deploy agent on a Windows operating system, whether it's a client operating system or a server operating system. I can deploy agent on Linux distributions, and these are the Linux distributions which are supported by agent as we speak. So if you don't see a distribution that you primarily is familiar with, or you primarily work with, then you may probably switch back to virtual scanner appliance, because these are the distributions that it supports as we speak. So it supports Red Hat, CentOS, Fedora, OpenSUSE, SUSE, Amazon Linux, Oracle Enterprise Linux. It also supports Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS. I'm saying based on the architecture, whether it is ARM64 or x64. Then you see Linux Debian also, Debian and Ubuntu Linux. It also supports Apple operating system, Apple Mac OS, Apple OS X. It also supports SUSE Enterprise Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, uh, AWS, Bottle Rocket. It also supports Linux Star. So these are the operating systems that it supports, the agent supports. Now, if you want to deploy agent for any of these operating systems, you also have install instructions here. So install instructions are also given. Now, what I want to deploy these agents for Linux virtual machines Windows virtual machines that I have. So I will click on install instructions. Now this is my install instruction. So basically what I need at the most is I will generate an activation key, choose an OS of choose an OS pertaining to assets that you want to protect. Choose an operating system pertaining to asset and look for install instructions. That's what you need to do. So when it comes to Windows, these are the install instructions. In case of Windows, what you need to do, you will need to download an executable on the asset where you want to deploy the agent. Plus, you will need to download this command line, I'm saying CMD, and you will need to run this command. That's all you need to do. And your agent will be downloaded on the instance. That's what you need to do. It also shows you the instructions. It says Windows installation requirements. Click here for the list of supported operating system versions. Now that's one thing that you need to know, which is the support matrix. That on all versions, on which version of Windows client and server operating system the agent is available. So over here, you need to click on Cloud Agent Performance Platform Availability Matrix. And here it shows you the operating system. So you can see here that it supports Windows starting from Windows 8 or Windows 8.1, Windows 10, Windows 10, another version, Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 11. And then in case of servers, it starts from server 2012 or 2012 R2, 2016, 2019, 2022, 2022 Azure Edition, and the most recent version, which is Server 2025. So these are the supported operating systems from Windows, both server and client operating systems that agents support. So this you basically need to make sure that you check. So after you look for this information, after you check for this information, you just need to install, you just need to download and install this executable from admin privileges. And in order to install this, you will need to run this command. That's it. So two things, download this and command and use this command to run it. Now the question is that how will I do this? Should I be downloading it on my local system and then using it? See, it all depends. If there is one system, you can probably log into that system and open this console on that system and directly download the executable on the system and install it. What if there are 2000 systems? Will you be doing it on 2000 systems? Probably not. So in that case, you can use any software packaging solution like Windows Software Center, WSource, BigFix, any software packaging solution. You can download the exe as well as this command, create a package, and then push it to rest of the systems. All the systems where you want to deploy it, you can push it. Just like you push a software package or you push an update for patch management. That's what you can do. In our case, since we have only 2-3 systems, we can manually deploy it real quick. So what I will do, I will navigate to my instances one after another, and I will deploy this agent. Now, before I deploy this agent, I would also like to show you that definitely agent will provide you more visibility. Agent would not require any any authentication, and agent would also not require any schedule for discovering vulnerabilities. An agent would provide you more visibility, but it doesn't mean that Qualys virtual scanner appliance is of no use once agents are there. Your Qualys virtual scanner appliance can also provide similar similar visibility into your assets if the virtual appliance is being supplied with credentials which have sufficient permissions. So before we get into the agent deployment, I can show you, if we go to asset view, we can go to any asset and you will see that now that we don't have cloud agent as we speak on our assets, even though I have all the information. For example, this Windows 10, Windows 10 Pro. Now, if I click on Windows 10 Pro asset, you can see if I navigate to installed softwares, right now it doesn't have an agent on it. So it says run a scan on your host to get software information. Is our host up and running? Okay, let's look for this agent scanned 17 hours ago. This one. This one is the old one. Let's look for this one, this system. So here, if we click on install software, this was scanned using Qualys Cloud Appliance. If you look at this asset, you will see all the information about this asset. Now, as we speak, this asset Qualys Windows 10 Pro, it does not have any agent on it. But even without agent, if you look carefully in the summary, it basically tells me the location on a world graph. It also tells me the host name, the FQDN IP address of the asset. All that information I'm getting here. It's Qualys, it's Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. It shows me the last login user is administrator. Last login was done yesterday. It was added on January 8th and last updated an hour ago. Open ports, if I want to see, these are the ports which are open on this. Installed software, it shows me all the softwares which are installed here. If you look at vulnerabilities, it shows me the vulnerabilities. Uh, the compliance information, it also shows me. It will not show you right now because you have not enabled policy compliance module. But since we tested it beforehand, that's the reason I'm seeing all of this information. File integrity monitoring, you will also see file integrity monitoring information, alert notification, and patch management information. If there is any that you've configured. Since we have not configured patch management module, you will not see anything here. But the point that I'm trying to make here is install softwares and applications. It picks up all the software and application like Google Chrome, Adobe Acrobat, Mozilla Firefox, all those applications which are installed here, even before agent is not there. Now that you are going to deploy agent, it will provide you more visibility because agent will run locally on the system. So let's go ahead and deploy agent on these virtual machines. So what I'll do, I'll navigate to my Azure portal and I'll take remote of my Windows 10 VM. We'll start with Windows 10, then we'll deploy it on other operating systems. So I'm logging into the portal. I will log into my Windows 10 VM. This is Windows 10 Pro. All right. I'm logged into Windows 10. On Windows 10, I will open Qualys Cloud Platform. I have two options. Either I can download it on my local system and copy it to Windows 10, which will take more time. So I'll directly open Qualys Cloud Platform here. Since these are, I have intentionally downloaded older versions of these applications to show you vulnerabilities. That's the reason they are just not working. So I'll download it on Edge. Edge will always be the latest because it comes with the operating system. All right, I'm logging into Qualys portal on my Windows 10 VM. And then I will navigate to sensor management. Under sensor management, I'll click on Cloud Agent. On Cloud Agent, I'll go to activation key. And in the activation key, I'll see my activation key, which is demo Cloud Agent, right? And for this activation key, I will click on the activation key. This is the activation key. Here I'll click on install agent. All right. So what you need to do, you will need to navigate to the activation key that you have generated from admin portal. Then click on this drop down. Here you see an information that says install agent. You can edit the key, you can delete key, you can disable key, you can see key information also. So we'll click on install agent and then it will show me all the supported OS platforms. I'll select, I'll just download the agent. So I see all the supported platforms. I'll select Windows. Right next to Windows, it says install instructions. I'll click on it and then download the executable. So you need to download the executable. And then you need to copy this command, copy and paste this command for installation. So I'll copy this command, copy, and then I'll go where my executable is. So my executable is here, Qualys Cloud Agent. You see this utility, it's 24 MBs of file. So you can directly download it on your local system and upload it onto the asset also, whichever way you want to do it. So it's 24 MBs of file. You need to install it. Now you cannot double click and install it. See, if I double click on install it, it will fail. It says installation of Qualys Cloud Agent by double clicking executable is not supported. So you can't double click and install it. You will need to open command prompt and put that install instruction installation, installation command. So how will I open command prompt here? I can type cmd and you need to open command prompt with the, you need to open command prompt with administrative rights, right? So you will need to open command prompt with administrative rights. Now what I suggest for easy installation, either you open command prompt like this, cmd, right click on it and then run as administrator. And then you will need to navigate to this path, the path where this agent is. You need to navigate to this path basically. So the easiest way to do it, I will move it. I will cut it from here and put it into my C drive root folder. This is my root folder. I'll paste it here in the root folder. And now I'll go to my command prompt and I'll say cd backslash. It will bring me to the root folder. That's how I can do it. Otherwise, wheresoever your executable is, you will need to navigate to that path. Now, if I do dir, I will see my Qualys Cloud Agent executable here. So once you are in the same folder where your executable is present, you will need to run that command. So if I go and copy this instruction, command for installation, now I can put this command here, paste this command here and hit enter. So what it will do, it says Qualys Cloud Agent.exe, which is this exe. Then you see the customer ID. Customer ID is your association with Qualys. And then you also see the activation key. This is the activation key basically. So this agent is going to be installed and activated using this activation key. And then you also see web service URL. The web service URL correspond to your Qualys cloud platform. That's it. Hit enter and it will install it. It hardly takes a minute to install it. And once it is installed, you will see the pop-up on the screen. So it is installing the agent. After the installation is complete, you will come back to the command prompt and it also says successfully installed Qualys Windows Cloud Agent. Now, after you see the screen successfully installed Windows Qualys Cloud Agent, what you need to do, you need to exit from command prompt and then you will need to go to add remove programs from control panel to validate whether this agent is installed or not. So you can directly go to add remove programs or you can go to control panel and from there you can navigate to add remove programs, or you can open runbox, type appwiz.cpl. It will directly take you to add and remove programs over here. Now over here, you will see that Qualys Cloud Agent is present. We say Qualys Cloud Security Agent. It was installed today and the size of the agent. This is one way of verifying it. Now this will only verify that Qualys Cloud Agent is installed on the system. Now the question is whether that agent is running as we speak. Because if the agent is not running, then it will not provide you 2 seconds visibility of your asset. So for that, you can open Task Manager, and with the help of Task Manager, you can find it. So you can either type Task Manager in the search like this, Task Manager, or you can type Control Shift Escape keyboard, a combination from the keyboard, and it opens Task Manager. In the Task Manager, you will also see whether you see Qualys Cloud Agent running or not. So in the Task Manager, if you scroll it down, you will see Qualys Cloud Agent. The service is running as we speak. This is what you need to validate after you deploy the solution. So validate that the solution is installed, and in the Task Manager, there's a process corresponding to that solution which is up and running. This will complete your agent installation process. Once you are done with this process, let's navigate to the Qualys portal. On the Qualys portal, you will be able to see this agent now. So on the Qualys portal, if I navigate here on the agents, cloud agent, I will be able to see my agent there. So now I can see my Windows 10 Pro here, which is 192.168.1.37. So my system is shown here. My system also shows last activity, which is it was provisioned 2 minutes ago at 3:07 past 3 in the afternoon here in India. It was checked 2 minutes ago. Configuration is pending assessment. Why it says pending assessment? Because you've just deployed the agent, right? So the agent is installed, and you can also see the modules which are enabled on this agent. So we have enabled patch management, global asset view, vulnerability management, security and configuration assessment, and file integrity monitoring. All those modules we have enabled on the agent, right? And by default, this agent has these stacks, which is Azure Resource, Azure, and Cloud Agent. So this is how you deploy agent. If you want to see based on activation key how many agents are there, you can also see. So in the production activation key, there is one agent. In the demo cloud agent, the agent key that we created, we have one agent here also. When you click on this, it will also show you the agents which are deployed here. Probably this is license code OCI. No, not here. Okay. So this is what you basically see here. And now when you click on this asset, it will show you all the information. Now soon, now you will see deep dive details with respect to this agent, because with respect to this asset, because now it has an agent, and even without running a scan, agent will be able to identify all installed softwares and applications. It says we are syncing data. Click back in a few minutes. So it will be able to provide you all the information. You see agent summary, the agent which is installed on this, and the activation key to which it corresponds to. And you can see connected from, this is the public IP of Qualys Cloud Platform. All that information you see here, open ports, all this information will sync in next couple of minutes because your agent has just installed. For those who don't see Windows machines, try refresh the browser. It was working for me. Yep, you need to refresh the browser whenever you don't see any updated information, right? So now that we have this agent running on the VM, very soon you will be able to see the status of the VM. Okay, so this is how we basically deploy agent. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to deploy Qualys Cloud Agent and on all the VMs. Please go ahead and deploy the agent. I expect all the VMs to be reflecting under agents, under agents tab corresponds to your lab environment. And then this configuration part we'll talk about when we talk about file integrity monitoring. At that point in time, I'll talk about what is configuration profiles.
Raghu,
Yes, Prashant.
I downloaded the agent but unable to install it. It is
Mhm.
not taking that command. It is showing error Qualys Cloud agent.exe is not recognized as an internal or external command.
Okay,
Let me
please
share
share
my
your screen.
screen.
Yeah, please share
Yeah.
your screen.
You need to go to that location, Prashant. Provide that.
Probably that's the reason.
Yeah.
Copy
If
paste.
yeah, copy paste is done. See, this
So
is
where is
the
your agent?
agent.
So
Yeah.
agent is in C drive. Are you in the C
Correct.
drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Now now copy the command once again.
But in system 32 is not in C.
Just
You need
type
to change directory to
cd
C.
backslash.
Yes.
Okay.
It's CD C/.
CD
You're in
slash.
system 32 basically. You need to
Well,
type cd backslash. This is forward slash. Yeah, now you are in the root drive. Now paste the command. No, don't type cd now anymore. You're already into the root. Now copy the command. I'm say paste the command and hit enter. It will work. Yeah, see it's working. That's the reason I moved it from downloads to the root
Mhm.
to the root drive so that it will be easier for you to run it. Otherwise, you would need to put the entire location for the
Yeah,
downloads, which is
yes.
C user and then your username and all that. Your agent is installed now.
No, yeah.
Okay, Prashant?
Yes, correct.
Great. So following the same process, all of you
For all.
please go ahead and deploy the agent on the remaining two VMs. Any other participant in this session who is facing an issue in deploying the agents, Qualys Cloud agents on your respective lab VMs, please let me know. All right. Is everyone done with deploying agents on all the virtual machines? Great, let's move on. So once you're done with agent installation, when you navigate to the cloud agent module on dashboard, you see a similar picture. For example, in my case, it says 4 because I've got 4 virtual machines. Now the process will remain the same whether it is 4 or 400,000 agents. Either you will deploy them manually by navigating to each asset and then downloading and installing the agent based on the instructions, or you will use a software packaging facility like WSOS, SCCM, BigFix uh, to basically create a package of that agent and push it to rest of the systems which are compatible with that agent, and you will manage the deployment and installation accordingly. Once the agent is installed successfully, you will validate, and you can also validate that here. So on the dashboard, you can see the total number of agents. You will also see the modules which are enabled for those agents. For example, over here, global asset view is enabled for all the agents. However, vulnerability management is enabled for 3 agents. Now I have a total of 20 licenses available. So which means I can add a maximum of 20 assets to vulnerability management for VMDR capability. Similarly, for policy compliance, none of the agent is enabled. Why? Because policy compliance is a module which is not enabled via agent, which basically means that policy. So policy compliance is one module that we will be covering in this training. However, we cannot cover that module using the agent. Why? Because we do not have agent license available for policy compliance, which means we will need to stick to the virtual scanner appliance to complete this policy compliance module. However, policy compliance module is also available for agents. It is not available in our trial. It's a separate story. but it is also available. Now, if you have a question that comes to your mind that what all Qualys modules are available for agents, or for which Qualys security module I can use an agent because I find agent more efficient, more easy to manage rather managing a virtual scanner appliance or physical scanner appliance. I want to switch to agent based security mechanism. In that case, the same documentation that you were referring to, you can go back to the same documentation, which is Qualys Agent Support Matrix. There you will see this information. I'll share the URL with you. It is already there in the presentation, which is here. Qualys Cloud Agent Platform Availability Matrix. Now, this documentation, I'll put that into the chat window also. This documentation or this URL provides you two information. One is the current version, current release. You can see the latest is 6.0. You can also see the previous releases of agent. It is always advisable to use the latest. So 6.0 is the current release of agent. And in that 6.0, these are the operating systems which are supported from Windows perspective. And these are the modules which are supported. So you can see that policy compliance is one module, which is here. This is policy compliance. And you can see policy compliance is supported for agents on these operating systems. So policy under compliance category, policy compliance is there. It is supported for agents also. But in our account, it is not supported. I'm saying in our trial, they have not enabled agent-based support for policy compliance. And how do we know it is not there? We can find this information from here, which is basically when you go to agent management, when you go to activation key, and when you click on install agent, when you click on this information, or basically when you create a new key, you see the modules which are available. So here I do not see policy compliance. If I'm saying, since I do not see policy compliance here, it means I cannot use policy compliance module with the agent. I would need to stick to an older method, which is virtual scanner appliance. That's the only thing. Am I making sense to everyone on this? Great. However, I would rather suggest that if there is any module which is available for agent, go ahead and make use of it, because that will save you from a lot of manual configurations with respect to scheduling a scan, with respect to manually managing it or running on demand and scheduled scan. So since it is not enabled, that's the reason. However, in the matrix, it is clearly visible. So this policy compliance module, we will still do using virtual scanner appliance because it is not available in our, in our matrix. However, file integrity monitoring is only available through agent. You cannot use virtual scanner appliance for file integrity monitoring because that capability Qualys intentionally made available through agent only, so that customers would switch to agent-based security. That Qualys has done intentionally. So anything to do with detection and response, which is FIM, EDR, and XDR, this is only available through agent. This is not available through virtual scanner appliance, right? Now, since I'm talking about what is available through virtual scanner appliance, what is not available through virtual scanner appliance, on the same documentation, you also see support for Linux and Windows, Linux ARM, as well as other Linux systems with respect to Mac OS also. All the information is there on this documentation. So this is very important URL that you should keep in your browser favorites, because at any point in time, you need information in terms of whether I am using a specific Qualys capability for a specific operating system, whether it is supported. You can come back to this URL and get the clarification from here. All of the information is available here. Okay. Now let's understand the difference between agent and virtual scanner appliance. I have made it available on this presentation, so we can read it from the presentation. Now this is the difference between agent and virtual scanner appliance. You can see that virtual scanner appliance you can install in on-premises or in a virtual environment, which is on-premises, which is physical data center, a co-location unit, as well as in a virtual environment, which includes both public and private cloud. Scanning. Using virtual scanner appliance, you can perform comprehensive vulnerability scans on both internal and external IP addresses. So with the appliance, you can do both internal and external scan. Flexibility, you can scan a wide range of devices, which is routers, switches, servers, workstations, and more. So remember this, with appliance, we can do all of it. We can do routers, switches, servers, workstations, and more. Control, it offers more control over scan scheduling and configurations. Obviously, you will need to schedule the scan here because by default, appliance is sitting idle. It does not do anything unless it is instructed to run a vulnerability scan. Offline capability can be used in environments without internet access. That's another benefit of appliance. Let's say you have an environment where internet is not directly available on the assets. In that case, you can deploy an appliance. Appliance will be connecting, will be making a reverse connect or outbound connection with the Qualys Cloud Platform to download the instructions in terms of the current signature version, in terms of vulnerability database, in terms of the schedule at which it needs to run a vulnerability management scan with respect to what all assets needs to be included, which option profile needs to be used, all that will be there. So you can use it in offline environments also. Then comes Qualys Cloud Agent. Now on the same parameters, you can see the difference, which is deployment. It is directly installed on the device that you want to monitor. It is directly installed. So it will not require any credential to run a scan because it is there in the device. Continuous monitoring. Now that's the benefit. In case of scanner appliance, you're performing scans on demand as well as scheduled. But in case of agent, there is no need to schedule anything. It supports continuous monitoring. The moment it is installed and up and running, it will continuously monitor any vulnerability or misconfiguration or any configuration that is supplied to it based on other modules that are enabled for it, and it will report the results to the Qualys Cloud Platform. So it provides continuous vulnerability detection and send data to Qualys Cloud for analysis. Authenticated scan. It can perform authenticated scan even without credentials, assessing more detailed information about the host system. So it provides more information. However, this is Qualys Cloud Agent is only available for servers or client OS. You cannot deploy a cloud agent on a router because router doesn't support executable, switches or firewall or any device that doesn't support an .exe, right? So then easy to use. Yes, it's easier to set up and manage with less overhead for IT teams. That's the benefit that it brings on the table. Less overhead, real-time data, and it provides. Now, don't just believe because I have taken this information. This information is directly coming from Qualys documentation. Add near real-time here instead of just read it like offers near real-time insights. There is nothing which is real-time in this world. It's near real-time and faster detection of vulnerabilities. Now, if I want to summarize, if you need comprehensive and scheduled scan, and if you have the resources to manage an appliance, I'm saying if you have an employee who can be dedicated to manage an additional appliance, plus you want scheduled scans, you don't want to run the scan all the time, you want to schedule them for a limited, a specific period of time, then you can use virtual scanner appliance. However, if you need continuous monitoring and near real-time data with minimum management overhead, when you want to avoid this resources to manage, then use cloud agent could be more suitable. So what is my conclusion here? I'm saying, what do you conclude from this comparison analysis? The conclusion is that depending on the customer environment, depending whether the customer is hybrid, multi-cloud, whether the customer is on-premises, you will pick and choose a combination of solution. So agent is not a replacement of virtual scanner appliance. It can be used in conjunction with virtual scanner appliance. So for anything that is restricted, that does not have internet access, that is outside of a virtual machine or a physical server like switches, router, firewalls, you can use scanner appliances. And for virtual machines and physical servers, you can use cloud agent because they are more efficient there. So it's a combination of external appliances, external scanners for public facing assets, internal scanners, both physical and virtual for internal LAN environments, and then agents for specifically your virtual machines and physical servers, whether they are residing in on-premises, whether they are residing in private cloud or private or public cloud. So that's the conclusion that you can derive from this comparison analysis. I'm open to questions if you have any, because this is the crux of it. Some people think that agent is a replacement of scanner appliance and they replace everything with agent, and they almost forget that they are getting low capabilities now. I'm saying they have almost lost the capability to identify vulnerabilities across other solutions that agent does not support. Now, from the licensing perspective, agent doesn't cost you anything. Appliance doesn't cost you anything. What costs you is the service. So if you purchase patch management or VMDR module, then you will pay for VMDR module per asset. So licensing is on per asset, which means you will purchase license for 100 assets, 100 servers, 100 Windows servers, let's say. Now, whether you deploy virtual scanner appliance to manage them, whether you deploy a cloud agent, it's secondary. Qualys doesn't charge you for it. They charge you per asset basis. That's the licensing part that you need. Okay, if there are no more questions, let's move on. Now, the next thing that we want to do, now that we are done with the agent part, we'll move on to the next module, which is now we don't need the connector at all, Qualys Cloud Connector. So you can go ahead and delete the connector from your respective portal. All you need to do you just need navigate to the sensor management, hit connectors, and here you will see your connector. Right now, I've already deleted it. You will see one entry against Azure. You just click on it. You will see the connector here. Select the connector, click on action and delete it. We don't need connector at all. Anand, do you have any questions? I see your hands raised.
No.
Okay, let's move on. So this was about Cloud Agent. Now that we have Cloud Agent on our systems, let's see whether it has started to, show the data. So I can click on any of the VM, for example, 22K19. Go to install softwares. It is still syncing the asset data. I'm saying once you deploy the agent for the first time, it will take at least, I'm saying as per Qualys, it is up to 4 hours. So up to 4 hours it will take to bring in all the information about that VM, about vulnerabilities and everything. It will take some time to bring all of this information. So probably by tomorrow, you will be able to see all of this information with respect to these agents. All of this information will come by tomorrow. Okay, I have started to see some information. For example, there is one critical patch which is missing, all that. So let it just run that like that. Okay.